Hello, everyone. Welcome to our webinar, and thanks for joining us today. I'm Sakshi Dhiman, your host for this webinar. And before we begin, I want to walk through some important points. So, we may not be able to take questions due to time constraints, but we encourage you to still submit any question or query you have during or after this webinar. We will send you the answers to the questions if you have one, and along, of course, you will also be receiving the recorded version of this webinar. Okay, so coming back to the webinar and our talk, let us just look at a little bit about SecPod. So 12 years old technology company, and it is continuously working on products to unify all IT management, security, and compliance using a single platform. Also, under its umbrella, there are already two major products. One is the SCAF feed, and other is SanerNow cyber hygiene platform, which in itself is having 6 different tools that are patch management, quality management, compliance management, asset management, endpoint management, and threat detection and response. Now, again, coming back to myself, I am Sakshi Dhiman. I'm heading growth in SecPod, where we have been looking very close to the trends, threats, vulnerabilities, patches, etc. of the cybersecurity industry. And we are doing all this through our own SecPod research lab. Joining us today, we have our industry expert, Jagsir Singh, director at SecPod. He has been in tech industry for over a decade now and has been in cybersecurity for quite some time. He's also leading SecPod in product, marketing, and customer relationship efforts. Thank you, Jagsir, for joining us today.
Thanks, Sakshi. I'm really excited to join you today on this topic, and you have an interesting topic, exploring trends. So I'm excited. Look forward to contribute.
Thank you, Jagsir. So before we do anything, let us discuss what's the agenda for today, Jagsir.
Okay, so we're going to talk about, as you said, we're going to talk about cybersecurity trends and going to deep dive into some of the statistics that will help us understand these trends. Then what we also plan to do is discuss some combat topics, tactics, and role of automation in implementing those tactics. We're going to also talk about what are some of the targeted industries and companies that fall under the radar of attackers. We're going to talk about rise of endpoint management, along with that, how endpoint management and security need of those products and solutions is on the rise. And then I believe we have a Q&A session. If anybody has any questions, we're going to answer those towards the end of this webinar. That's what I have on mind today.
Okay, that's some deep topics we have there. So, Jagsir, before we move on to our first trend, and I think so that's what our audience is here for. I want to understand, and I think so our audience would also want to understand, like, what will they gain from this content, or after this webinar, where would they stand in their organization or in their program or whatever that is?
Oh, great. Thank you, Sakshi, for asking that. So what I intend to do is talk about what could make a change in the security posture of organizations, and also discuss a few trends that we might be aware or not aware of, but understanding these trends and keeping up to date, I mean, would definitely help any organization better their security posture. So that's what I intend to deliver as value through this webinar. So that brings me to this topic, and then why should we even care of what's trending and what's not? And so, at the root, it's about vulnerabilities. And then when we look around, vulnerability numbers are growing, just like COVID-19 infections. I mean, it's the whole world is going through this pandemic, and it and contrary, on the side, we also see same thing happening with in the technology trends, where we get to see a steady, or rather an exponential rise in the number of new vulnerabilities being reported year on year. And with that, the number of vulnerabilities continuously keep increasing in the IT environment. With this increasing numbers, what we do see is 90%, I mean, all the attacks that are being launched, and over 2,000 attacks happening around the world, 90% of these cyber attacks exploited unpatched vulnerabilities and misconfigurations, of course. So in a way, it's evident that if we keep on not focusing on addressing these vulnerabilities, cyber attacks keep on happening. And very interesting trend that we see is um, the 40% of malware originated from something called zero-day vulnerabilities. Now, zero-day vulnerability exploits, and these zero-day exploits are um, the exploits where we don't have a fix yet. So organizations are at the mercy of attackers in a way, where we are dependent on researchers and vendors to release fixes to these vulnerabilities that are being exploited currently. So these are few stats
So
that
basically, Jagsir, when you're talking about zero-day vulnerability exploits, you're talking about those kinds of zero-day vulnerabilities that are being exploited right now, and these zero-day vulnerabilities are those vulnerabilities that don't have a patch in the market yet.
exactly, yes, that's what it means. So any vulnerability that do not have a patch yet, but is being exploited by the attackers. I mean, 40% of the malware originated from those, and that's what we see that keeps happening. Going to looking at 20 years of vulnerability stats, and you could see how these numbers keep on increasing year on year. Last year in 2020, we had uh, around 18,000 new vulnerabilities reported, added to the national vulnerability database. And we are already in March, and we have close to 5,000 vulnerabilities that are already added. And what happens, what this signifies is there's a steady rise. And I mean, it could be, and we are expecting that to grow more than 20K this year.
Okay, so right now from the graph, Jaxi, what I can see is that there has been tremendous growth in between 2016 to 2017. So it was just around 6,000, and now in 2017 it became 14, and it's but since 2017 it's a steady growth. My question is that uh, right now it is coming out as steady growth, so the things don't look as bad as they are. Is it still the case, or will the numbers will change, or do you see that there are other factors or elements that are also involved in these numbers?
Oh, thanks for that observation. So yeah, I mean, we as if you project, I mean, we look at around 20K, but then I mean it could be exponential. I mean, everybody has seen what COVID has done around the world. It has just like that. It could be exponential. It could be much more than what we are expecting. But yes, all the stakeholders, may it be vendors, may it be um, um, researchers, analysts, and also even uh, the even the so everybody is working together. All the stakeholders are working together to report these vulnerabilities, and then yeah, it could be we could see very exponential rise instead of just a steady rise that you see here.
Okay, so what you're saying is that COVID and the current different scenario, unpredictable scenarios, can have a major say in the rise of vulnerabilities right now.
Yes.
Okay, so I understand the rising numbers and all, and I also understand that it can create problems with malwares. It can create problems with the number of attacks that are happening for various organizations. But now, what can we do exactly to solve this growing number of vulnerability problems? This because as far as I understand, it's a major issue.
Yeah, that brings me to what I wanted to talk about as the combat tactics. So, majorly, we see. I mean, I have what I've seen right now is I mean, all the companies, most of the companies would have a very small, lean team managing tens to thousands of devices, but that's not how it's supposed to be. Keeping all your systems cyber healthy can become a tedious task, and I mean, having a small team trying to manage everything, trying to manage the security of the entire organization is a tremendous task. And
So about So,
yeah,
Jagsir, if right now you're talking about the teams, are you talking about the security team, or is just the IT team, or is something else?
oh, it's the security teams. I mean, along with folks who are responsible to manage security of the organization. So we see these are very small teams within the and trying to manage loads of devices. So what we see, I mean, there are two, what I believe uh, would be a better approach is to have teams and tools in place. So every organization should think about having an internal team managing, trying to manage these security operations, and yes, also talent, finding the right talent and resources is of course a big huge challenge for any company out there. But yeah, that's where MSSPs um, could help build that bandwidth for even small, I mean, not only larger organizations but even the smaller ones. And in addition to the team, it's really important also to have a set of integrated security tools. And that's because, I mean, if you still keep working with multiple tools, it has a lot of challenges for the teams. And then, I mean, I see, I mean, I hear um, security engineers struggling with the tools they have, with the practices they perform right now. It's a lot of challenge to make all these products together. So if these tools are already integrated with each other, and it's a stack of these tools, I mean, that could really help teams. And the second major component here would be the approach. Once you have the team and tools in place, it's really important to have the programmatic approach instead of the ad hoc management of security, and the cybersecurity of any organization. So, and within this program, um, what would be a good program is the one that has all these four components built in properly. The four components would be identifying and protecting from the environment, being able to prevent security attacks, being able to detect what's happening in the infrastructure, and also not only once you have detected, you should one should be able to quickly respond to those, and in order to remediate or mitigate the risk that any of these findings is imposing. To delve a little bit deeper, what we mean by identifying and protecting is to have these elements in place. Um, Starting off with asset visibility, then identity access management, data loss prevention, data encryption, personal security training for people who are taking care of not only taking care of the security but even the employees. So that is going to be able. I mean, the company is going to be able to identify as well as protect against anything that could happen. And then the capability to prevent would be an icing on the cake, right? I mean, usually prevention is undermined because all these everybody believes that it happens to others, not us. But having a program which has these components of continuous vulnerability management, they could be, I mean, and also automatically being able to implement patches to those vulnerabilities, being able to harden systems to a certain policy, and then having proper visibility into the IT assets, being able to do an exposure analysis, continuous monitoring of these security controls, and then I mean also maintaining the file integrity. That would define a good prevention program. Detecting wise, companies can look at having antivirus, security analytics in place, threat intelligence, and also continuous monitoring, so that if there's anything happening in the environment, they should be quickly able to detect. Once they have detected, with a disaster recovery incidents response plan and a real-time response capabilities, they should be, I mean, teams should be able to respond to any detections. So that's, I believe, if an organization implements a programmatic approach to security management, security management within their organization, I believe that would solve a lot of challenges for companies out there. And this would be a perfect strategy that we have seen also working for customers, our customers globally, having a team, an excellent team, empowering them with the right tools, and then taking a programmatic approach to security management.
Understood. So I think so that will really solve a lot of the rising number of vulnerability problems. Great. Before going on further, I think so. I really want to understand from the audience perspective as well, like what uh, about a certain poll. I want to have a certain poll regarding how are they combating vulnerabilities in their organizations. So right now the poll is open. One is, of course, you're having internal team but no tools. Other is having MSP or third party partner. Third is having security tool and tools in place. Of course, there's other, and this one is my. I think so. Sometimes it might work through prayers.
Yeah. So meanwhile, we get responses from our audience. How long do you think this poll is going to be, Sakshi?
I think so. It's over. I think so. I'm ending the poll. Okay. So I think so. We have some shy audience over here. So let's moving on with that topic. I still believe, according to the customers and according to the prospects and leads that I have talked to, I still believe that there are still quite a number of organizations that are relying on their internal teams itself, most of them. So they are having like 2 3 members team, like you said and suggested, and they are not having any much of those tools. So that is a problem. But yeah, I think so we can move on to our next slide, Jaksir.
Okay. So yeah, so I mean, the major question that um, lies out there is, are we able to automate most of what we
Yeah.
talked about, right? I mean, the programmatic, even when you get a program in place, would you have automation involved in that program?
Yes, so Jaksir, I see that this automation, the word automation itself is a, I see this buzzword is going around the market for years now. It is for years, and many industries, like for example, IT, automotive, and many other industries have already implemented some sort of automation in place. But it has only been some time back that the automation gained a lot of traction in the cybersecurity industry. And I understand that, of course, automation is a blessing of technology, right, in a way. So when I'm talking about automation, of course, automation is different for different sorts of industry. So while I'm talking about automation in cybersecurity market, what exactly are we covering when we're talking about the security
Um,
perspective?
thanks for that question, Sakshi. Yeah, so yes, I mean, it's more than a buzzword nowadays, because everybody's looking to automate things. I mean, manually being able to manually doing or manually managing security is not going to work anymore, with the scattered workforce and all the challenges that you see in today's times. I mean, automation is definitely needed for in whatever you do. It could be detecting vulnerabilities. It could be not being dependent on uh, uh, what you say, manual vulnerability report, a manual reporting, vulnerability reporting tool. Being able to automatically patch those vulnerabilities is another component of automation. And then, yeah, all these processes, it could be running in the background, and you could see how the security of the organization is taken care of. And then, not only that, being able to identify if there are any malicious activities in the devices, in the entire network, being able to block those processes or IP addresses, service devices, whatever is caused is could be a potential risk to the security posture of an organization. I believe automation is plays a major role there. Now, let's come to this important part where we see um, how to improve security posture through automation. Now, what we have seen is 75% organizations lack the right talent and resources to be able to investigate security events quickly, right? Fast, and being able to respond to those. Now, and even among those, what we have seen is 77% of these of organizations believe if they had automation, they would be able to investigate security events, and they would be able to take care of the manual activity and then automate a lot of processes there. And as we were talking about, right, it could be running in the background, and then one could not one could be relaxed, that yes, there's a system in place, there's a program in place, and in case any intervention is needed, that should also be effortless. So that's what we see, and automation definitely is a very big game changer in today's operations.
Okay, so now the organizations are, according to you, are aware of the importance of the security automation, and at least the numbers of organizations who are being aware is at least greater when compared to the previous years.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely. In fact, I come across many companies that are specifically looking for automation, where they come in looking for. They say, okay, hey guys, we are breaking our backs with all these tools, trying to make these tools work together, and then we are. I mean, we don't know what to do. We use a vulnerability reporting tool to generate a report, and then it takes I mean, 6 months to be able to patch every vulnerability that was discovered, right? So if this basic integration not there, and then the automation is not there, uh, being able to continuously keep managing security, I mean, that's a really painful activity that teams have to go through. But yes, I see a change where now teams are looking for automated tools, and that do have integrations with other tools. So yeah, I mean, that's a quite positive trend that I personally also have seen.
So basically, in a nutshell, automation will not only save the the organizations and the IT team's time, but it will also save a lot of efforts while making the whole security program efficient. Right?
Yes, definitely drives efficiency, drives productivity. When I mean, teams have systems that are updated and working properly, I think everybody can. I mean, everybody is happy in that way.
Understood. I think so, Jaxi. We can move on to our next slide.
Okay, cool. So yeah, so I mean, even I mean, talking about all those things, there is this important topic, trend or topic that you talk about. That okay, where are attacks happening? What are attackers really looking at? I mean, what do they attack? How do they attack? And then what should we protect, or what should we do to prevent these attacks? Right? And we see these. There are six major components or elements in the IT infrastructure where we see a lot of attacks. I mean, these could be attacked, and then information can be extracted by an attacker. Those six components are endpoint devices, um, mobile devices, then there's humans that are the weakest link, and then there are network devices, there are critical servers, SMB, DNS, SMTP, domain controllers, and then data servers, all of those. Remote and conference applications like Zoom, and I mean, those are being really crucial in today's world of, I mean, where we have remote workforces working together.
So, but Jaxir, I see that you have colored endpoint devices, mobile devices, and humans with a different one, and network devices, critical and remote conference applications are not colored. So, is there a difference, or this is something that you have been
Nice.
experiencing in editing?
Nice observations, actually. Thanks. So yeah, definitely, those are the. I mean, those are the most what we call them the most vulnerable components in the IT infrastructure, because those um, are. I mean, you could have very less control over these on an ongoing basis, and then they're moving around, and it's hard to manage security complete, I mean, continuously on these, and that's what the attackers see as an opportunity to specifically target and keep targeting them. And when you look at endpoint devices, it's a scattered workforce these days. And compared to other devices, endpoint devices are where it's totally up to the device owner to maintain all that's needed to keep it secure, apart from what the security team is already doing. But yeah, it's always easier to attack, and because it's not always in the security radar of the information security teams. And then with the scattered workforce, the endpoints are continuously at risk. And what we see is 85% of organizations when COVID lockdowns started across the world. 85% of organizations, they sacrificed security to quickly enable remote work, and that continues to be a risky
That's a huge number
situation.
for any
Oh yeah,
attacks, right? Any
oh
attack
yeah,
can happen at that time. 85% is a lot now.
oh yeah. It's drastic. And again, coming to mobile devices, because how you operate your mobile device, it's again we are more careless. And then about the security and what we do, we connect with open public networks, and being they're more responsive. The mobile devices that we use are more responsive to phishing attacks. Data breaches very easy on a mobile device. And then we also see a 50% hike, and there are more attacks on mobile devices.
Mhm. I see, Jaksir, I mean, that's a personal experience. I believe that, I think so many people will also relate with me that people are much more careless while dealing with their mobile devices than dealing with their endpoint devices. So, be it if it is password hygiene, or be it antivirus, or be it any software installed that will prevent or protect me through any attack. I think so. We are much more careless
Yeah,
when it is coming to mobile devices.
definitely. Yes, you're right there. So yeah, mobile devices are always risky, and it's a good practice not to have valuable information on your mobile. But yeah, I can understand how that's unavoidable in today's world. Mobile is where most of our data is, whether personal, and these days people also use mobile for their professional work. That
I
brings me
think so.
to
For
yeah.
financial as well,
Oh yeah,
for
yeah,
many
definitely.
finances, we
Oh
have been
yeah,
using
yeah.
mobile.
I think that's the most critical piece of information. So yeah, so all the data lies on the mobile devices. Yeah, so definitely. So yeah, that brings me to network devices. So network devices, it's although it's a prime target for attackers because they gain a lot of value and it's profitable to attack the network devices. But yes, it's at the same time it's also hard because security teams build the network uh, keeping the security of the network in mind. So all those network devices are comparatively more safer, or rather harder to crack than mobile devices and endpoint devices. And it won't be used as normal. It won't be as it's not going to be used by end users, and usually used by IT admins. So again, making it a harder target. Critical servers, SMB, DNS, all those data servers, domain controller, all those servers, yes, although they are also a very good target for an attacker. Again, it's hard to crack, as these are external servers, and they are more exposed to. Although they are more exposed to attacks, but if the threat actor is able to find the vulnerability, then they can easily infiltrate. and do a lot of damage. But again, hard for an attacker since the security measures are already there, and the company invests a lot in protecting their critical servers as well as network devices. And then the next element is humans, which is the most weakest link that we see. Is a lot of attacks keep happening due to humans being involved.
Yeah, and I can understand why, Jaxir, that why we can always find humans in this list. And because there are various new ways in which attackers can breach the environment using the target behavior. And it's very easy to understand humans nowadays. You send an email with the CEO's name in it, with the CEO's name in the subject line, I will open it. And then, and what they do, they are performing. Then there will be a link to the malware, which will be kind of portrayed as this is a huge task that the CEO is giving to us. And then it is very clickable. People will be clicking on it.
Oh yeah, oh, yes, that's right. Exactly what happens, and it's even I can understand where you're coming from. It's hard, even hard for the newer joinees, because they would have uh, very less knowledge about this, and then that could also lead to these attacks.
Yeah, I think so. I remember my early days in SecPod. Yes.
Definitely, yeah. So yes, so last would be, and then there are remote conference applications, apps like Zoom, that have become favorite for attackers because people are using them daily nowadays, and business teams more than engineering teams, business teams are using these, and then they are a good target for attackers. Very easy targets, I would rather say. Okay,
Understood.
yeah.
So I think so. Now, since we have covered regarding the targets and the vulnerabilities and the sizes, and of course the weakest link as us as humans, I think so. It's now time for us to consider the industry.
Okay, so talking about industry, which industry hit the hardest? So what we see definitely is the healthcare. One word answer, it's healthcare, where we have seen um, more breaches compared to the incidents that happen in the healthcare domain. And then you look across other sectors, other industries, finance, manufacturing, information, public. There are breaches there. Definitely, breaches are there. But yes, unlike healthcare, looks like these industries are properly following whatever measures they need to in order to keep away or contain the risk associated.
But Jaxi, when I'm talking about attacks and breaches and incidents that are happening in the industry, uh, my first guess would be that finance or government should be my number one targets, or IT should be my number one targets, because uh, these are the industries from where I can get the most benefit from, right? But why healthcare?
Oh, yeah. Thanks for noticing that and then bringing that up, Sakshi. Yes, definitely. I mean, finance and those industries are, and what you think would be attacked. But when you look around, healthcare institutions are very complicated institutions where there are a lot of components, and not only the IT. IT is one department, but there are a lot of other departments, and one of them majorly is the healthcare department that has doctors, nurses, practitioners, other practitioners involved, and not so savvy with IT devices. I mean, managing IT devices, and that could be a very good, reason or an opportunity opportunity for attackers to go and breach healthcare institutions and extract whatever they want to. And again, I mean, having a complicated work environment, healthcare institutions tend to play down on the need of proper security infrastructure, and that's what we also see. Unlike financial institutions, where there are, I mean, it's crucial information. So financial institutions are usually prepared and cognizant of their security, security of their data, security of their customers, security of their own teams, and even manufacturing and government institutions are, I mean, government institutions have their own policies, and then they don't share data with not with external partners. So all those policies are well in place in other domains, but healthcare is where we see a good opportunity for attackers, because it's a lot complicated and very hard to implement a strict policy that would be followed continuously.
So basically, compared to other industries, right now, healthcare is the industry which is much more unprepared, right? In a nutshell, if we speak in that way, because I
Yeah,
see that the incidents are quite high when we are talking about public domain and when we are talking about information industry. But when we are talking about healthcare, I see the incidents are quite low, but the breaches are quite high comparatively to others. So I think so, more or less, attackers are kind of successful in breaching this industry when compared to the number of incidents that are happening.
yeah, I think, I mean, that's also an indicator of the need of proper implementation of policies such as HIPAA and then other compliance management for healthcare, right, followed by proper installation or implementation of a security program. So yeah, so I mean, there are opportunities for improvement, and then we do see awareness about having a proper program and then being able to stay away from or prevent breaches.
So a tool or a service that is compliance management will really help here for all the industries.
Yeah, so compliance management definitely is a common need, where you could have either it's an industry-based policy. For healthcare, there's HIPAA. For financial institutions, there are policies such as PCI, and then I mean, information and manufacturing companies, they tend to follow ISO, or there's even NIST framework that's quite prominently implemented by organizations around the world. And then, I mean, governments usually have their own policy, and then if you look at what's currently happening, policies such as CMMC, they're going to even make it better for organizations to implement strong programs, and yes, so being compliant to a policy, whether it's an industry-based policy or an organization-based policy, will definitely implement or ensure lesser number of attacks.
Understood. I think so. The message is loud
That
and
brings
clear.
me, yeah, yes. So that brings me to another question that's always in everybody's mind, and that's, does company size matter, right? I mean, and what we have seen is although number of attacks are more on the larger organizations, but yes, I mean, quite comparative with the smaller organization. However, what we see is larger organizations are able to prevent incidents and prevent breaches. However, smaller organizations are prey, they fall prey to attackers, and then they lose out on critical information and even ransomware. So, so smaller, I mean, what I believe is size is size of a company is not should not be um, the decision making point, whether an organization should have a security program in place and then invest in security talent as well as the technologies. And with that, I mean, these are small size, big problems. One of them, the topmost, is optimum bias. What we see is companies, when you talk to a security team within any organization, everybody thinks it's not me, it's others, until they experience they are in the situation that they wanted to avoid always. And then we see lack of resources and talent as well. I mean, although it's every organization's problem, but it's a big problem. And then setting up internal regulations will definitely help companies to stay away from being attacked, but and also maintain a good cyber health. And also not only having a internal policy, but industry benchmark, following industry benchmark, that also helps organizations to um, keep ahead of attackers. And then when you look around, risks are evolving faster, and without the proper IT security stack, it's impossible to stay cyber safe. And setting up good policies, um, it's what would make a huge difference. And the, coming back to the point, does size really matter? That since smaller companies have this thought in their head, that it's since they are small, the attackers won't attack them. It's absolutely what attackers are looking at, and then they do understand how small businesses think, and they are less prepared, and hence they are very easy targets for attackers. And attackers, I mean, since they understand this behavior, they use it to attack smaller organizations, and that's how we see smaller organizations being attacked more than, I mean, comparatively falling prey to attackers.
Understood. Very well said. I think so. This would bring us to our next topic, that what can really be an option when it is coming to the company size or when it is coming to the industry. I think so. One great option for the industries and for the organizations to save themselves or to prevent any sort of attacks, I think so, is to have a unified endpoint solutions in place, and that's why well, these are getting popular.
Oh, yeah, thanks for bringing that up. So we do see unified solutions, the need of unified solutions rising, and they are becoming more famous now. Um, for a one simple reason, it helps them better their security posture. And since there's less downtime, less efforts needed with unified platforms, that's also an advantage. And single console, more visibility. I mean, having a single console gives with capability to get more visibility and control. That's another reason why one-stop solutions are becoming famous. And then if having multiple tools on one single platform removes the worries of integration as well. So yes, so we do see unified solutions becoming more prominent than other solutions out there.
Great. I think so. Though we right now whatever we have covered is somehow related to some problems, but they are still good trends out there, and we have some good trends and good stats that we can see around us. I think so.
Yes.
We are right now very well ahead of our time. We have achieved the future technology that we were supposed to achieve 2 years more from now. We have achieved that 2 years earlier, and that's great. I think so. That is a great, some sort of a evolution. I am kind of feeling Elon Musk myself. So next is, I think so, a scattered workforce, though it has created some problems, challenges, security risk, but it also has been it has also has been productive challenges, and that's why our tools have become more advanced, and they have become what we wanted them to. So basically, there are still security tools out there which are helping our scattered workforces, and when implemented right, I think so, the vulnerabilities and the attacks can reduce a lot. Now moving on to the IT teams, our IT teams have become more advanced. Nonetheless, whatever we discussed, of course, there are problems within IT teams, within small business organizations. But yes, IT teams have become more advanced. They know more. They are investing in smart tools. They're taking right decisions. Their security program is also advancing in the great phase, and in the great time. They're making great effort. So their efforts are also becoming more efficient. When coming to the cybersecurity industry, I think so. For this year, the spending alone has been $125.2 billion. That's huge, but compared to the challenges that we are having, I think so that really speaks a lot. That people are spending where investment is really needed. Now, coming to the security staff and the increasing in need of the security staff, I think so. Organizations already know that they need talented people, they need skilled security staff if they want to be safe from attacks, if they want a proper cybersecurity posture, if they want to increase the efficiency of their cybersecurity program. I think so. They one of the major problem and one of the major change and improvement they can do is to invest in their skilled security staff, in which and what we are seeing that 93% of organizations are believing that, and they are doing they are continuously working on increasing their staff. Finally, but not last, I think so, artificial intelligence, it is not just a buzzword. It is now actively being involved in tools, and people are doing a lot of R&D has been done on AI, and soon we will be seeing some tools that will be implementing artificial intelligence. And I think so then detecting, scanning vulnerabilities and the attacks will really go down. Now, thank you for the time, Jagsir. I think so, and for letting me speak. I think so. I will give this battalion over to you again.
Oh, thanks, and thanks for covering that, Sakshi. So, yeah, so with that, I think towards the end of what I wanted to convey is the rise of endpoint management uh, and security technologies. We see the demand of security rising. We over 55% organizations have recently reported an increase in endpoint security with potential problems looming at every turn. So, yeah, so companies are looking for security tools and more specific to integrated platforms where they could manage not only manage endpoints but also have a provision to secure these endpoints. And then that also is because companies want in-depth visibility and control over workforce these days. Workforce being scattered all around the world, having in-depth visibility and control is definitely an advantage, and that's where we see, and that helps also fighting against the attacks by increasing cyber immunity, having tools and teams in place to become cyber immune I would definitely make it true. What we say, prevention is better than cure, and COVID pandemic has validated that that prevention is much better than any cure available, and it's that's what companies should do.
So, if our audience has any questions right now, or or I think so. Fine then. Thank you so much, Jaksir. Thank you for this talk, and thank you for basically giving such great insights when it is coming to the data, when it is coming to the basically what's trending, and also why and how and what can we do to solve all these problems and risks and threats and attacks in hand, and also how we can basically implement and implement various trends like automation and like teams and tools or some programmatic approach. I think so that has been really insightful and helpful in understanding how can any organization can improve their cybersecurity posture. I think so.
Okay.
Uh, that will be really great, and it has been really great for you to join us.
Thanks. Actually, I enjoyed talking about this topic.
Great. Thank you, everyone, for being with us in this talk. If you have any questions, of course, you can mail us at info@secpod.com. And if you just want to see how can an endpoint security and management tool can overall help you increase your cybersecurity posture, or if or how can you detect vulnerabilities or patch them, or if you want to have compliance management tool in place, I think so secpod.com is a great site that where you can get all these information. And we also have great resources where you can dive deep into vulnerabilities and the process of mitigating them. I think so that will be that was all from us. Thank you for this wonderful talk. Thank you.